tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Okay guys, welcome to episode 4 of Heavy Metal Tones. You might notice that the audio is a bit clearer this time round. I have a new interface, so hey, modern world. Thanks Joseph for your help with that one. Anyway, this is a podcast for all of you music nerds out there, heavy metal lovers, heavy rock lovers, and really everything in between. It doesn't matter. If you love music, that's all you have to worry about. We love all sorts here in this program. What we're going to talk about today, I think today's episode is sort of sparked by a conversation I had with Joseph, my friend Joseph, the guitarist from Pure Envy, a thrash band from Newcastle. If you haven't heard them, go out there and YouTube them. And find them on Spotify. If I can get my mouth around my teeth. Yes, brilliant band, really nice guys. Get your heads around those. Anyway, we were discussing the sort of how music is consumed, and I thought, well, I might have a chat about the romance of music and how over the last, in my lifetime, it's changed dramatically. Really has. I think. Sorry about that, that's me clicking. I think that it comes down to, obviously, we're becoming more technical and more computer savvy. Everything's being more automated, So we consume in a different way. I mean, picture this, guys. It's a sunny day. It's in North London. It's 1982. Young Tony standing at the door of the local record shop with his brother Andrew, and in his sweaty palm is a £1 note given to him only the day before by his grandfather. And he's going to buy himself a record because his brother's going to buy his, and he's like, well, I'm going to go with Andrew, I'm going to buy my record. And only a few weeks before, I had bought The Who by Numbers. It was my first album I bought with money, and this £1 I thought, I'm going to go and get something with my brother. And then, you had to take a risk, because that £1 wouldn't buy you much. It'd probably buy you a single, maybe a couple if they were special, a second-hand record if you're lucky, a couple of EPs, depending on what you were looking for. And I remember buying very excitedly, because I was looking for more Who stuff. I remember buying Ride a Rock Horse by Roger Daltrey. I was drawn in by the cover. Firstly, it's Roger Daltrey, but secondly, it had him half naked on joined his upper body attached to a horse that's rearing up on a cloud, like a centaur. And of course, I really loved Roger Daltrey's voice, so it was like, okay, I'm going to buy this, and it did take all my money. Actually, I think my brother gave me a little bit more extra to buy it, And I went home and we played our records that afternoon. Now, the thing about that is that it was the way you consumed it. because you couldn't just download it and instantly gratify yourself, and money was limited for most of us. You had to, take a risk, or you had to know what you were looking for. You either watched Top of the Pops. We weren't allowed to watch Top of the Pops. My dad didn't like it, so it wasn't on most of the time, because he'd come home after a hard day's work, and it was usually on about 7:00. And Dad was like, "No, I'm watching, the football, whatever he wanted to watch, the news, while he's having his dinner." So we didn't watch. I mean, only one TV family as we were then. Most people were. So I didn't get to see it. So the only way I could really do it is listen to the radio. And I had a little tiny transistor radio, which I used to listen to in my bedroom. But of course, that was your top 40 singles. And up to a certain point, I wasn't listening to top 40 singles. So I didn't know what to do. I couldn't read my brother's NME or Sounds, because he wouldn't let me. Once he'd read it, he'd give it to his mates. So I never got a chance to read any of it. So it wasn't. So when you'd go with your precious money that you'd got, you had to you had to take a chance, unless you knew it really well, And of course, that led on to the conversation I was having with Joseph, was about, should we release singles anymore? And I was thinking, I think I'd like to see that again. I think that what they do now is like a TV program. Instead of it coming out weekly and the family gets together and watching it, it's all just 18 episodes straight away, consume it, move on. Do it in a weekend sort of thing. And I think I don't know. I think maybe the modern generation, my children's generation, are probably cool with that, and that's probably what they want and what they like, and it will change in 20 years, and they'll bemoan what I'm doing now. But I think that the deferred gratification is the term. I think it is key. A single would release, and often that single would be not from the album. You get the singles that would come out and they wouldn't be on the album, and so you'd be like, oh, okay, I got this single, and then you'd wait for that, then they'd release one probably about 3 months before the album, and then they'd one about a month, and then they won just on release. About 3 singles I remember you used to get. Of course, what you would do is you would then, if you had the money and you were clever enough, you get, like I did, you get all the versions of it. So, 1 week the single will be released, and then the following week you get it on picture disc, or you get the 12-inch mix, or you get the EP, or you get the shaped picture disc, or the picture CD, if you're going that way, right? Or the shaped CD, or whatever you're looking at. And so you treasured it, because the B-sides of that single, and this is another thing which is lost in the world with the digital age, the B-sides, I remember really vividly buying a Ghostbusters, theme song on single, and the B-side being a dub, just an instrumental. B-sides usually just be instrumental. You were really lucky if you got 2 songs. Sometimes you got double A sides. Sometimes you got a double A side and a B side, and that was really good value for your money, because you got home and you play those singles. I remember getting Sign of the Times by Prince. Now, I think he's an amazing musician. I'm not a huge, I wouldn't go out and buy his albums, but I really love that single. I actually like the guitar in it, but I think that was probably what it was. Anyway, I played that thing till it was smooth, because that's the only way I could consume music. And so when the albums were released, when you had this anticipation, and you go and buy it on day of release. You couldn't stream it and download it. You went and you had to go to the record store and really hope there was a copy there. Otherwise, you had to hunt around and try and find one, or order one. And that's the thing. I think we're saying that, as Joseph said, his band wants to know what they should do with their music, and I think that's what they should do. I think they should release singles, release them, in certain amounts of order to build momentum, and then release an album, but maybe even be cheeky and have the singles with not on the album. Old school, Or you buy the cassette single. I used to buy those as well. And I think I feel sad for the younger generation, because in 1999, with the advent of Napster, up until 2002. So for 3 years, people were stealing. I mean, and it's a whole different ball game, guys, a different conversation. But they were stealing music. I'd have conversations with people and they'd say, "Oh, but these are big bands and they make lots of money." If you imagine that each one of those downloads was $1, just to say, and 1 million downloads are stolen or downloaded without buying them, and they go on to sell 3 million copies of that record, 1/3 of their income is stolen from them, potential income. If I was to say to you, I want you to work a third of your hours at work for free, I'm not going to pay you, you'd all walk away and say no, wouldn't you? It doesn't matter what the amount of money is, it's the principle of the thing. It's the fact that, I don't know if you're listening out there, guys, if any of you are creative people or musicians, I hope some of you are, and I'm sure some of you are, you know how hard and painful it is to create music. Physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding. Your time, your energy, your everything. I mean, it's not just the case of plugging the guitars in and playing in a room now. You've got to do like I'm doing here, sitting in front of a laptop looking at, audio signals and worrying about gain staging and all this sort of stuff, So it makes a massive difference, whether it's $1 or $1 million. That aside. So as I say with Napster. So Napster came around, and so all of a sudden, because vinyl was waning and this new CD revolution was coming, and you could put your CDs onto portable, like you could do records onto cassettes, but you could put these things onto non-movable part MP3 players, which means you could store, the whole back catalogue of Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, all on one little thumb drive. It's a brilliant idea, and to some extent we do it now, don't we, with our phones? But we still consume the product. I mean, I use Spotify. I use it every day, but I use it as a tool, to find music. So once I like that, I'm going to buy the T-shirt, I'm going to buy the album, I'm going to buy the cassette, I'm going to get some merch. Or I already own the product and I'm using it in a way so that now, even though I've bought the album from the band is getting a few cents from my download plays. And so, I'm not stealing away from people. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who used Napster were thieves. Some people used it for means to an end. They had no way of getting that other music they wanted, and that's probably the only way they could do it. And to some extent, that's a great thing, because they are just trying still to enjoy the medium that the bands want them to have. But anyway, Napster finishes in 2002 from a court case. In comes iTunes, 2003, and then from there on, and they were selling songs at 99 cents a song. So back to that pound concept, that within the, the ability to own music but not aggressively expensive. And so they were selling their product. And so bands then were starting to think, hey, we can use this medium to sell more product. And so they were doing that. And you find stream exclusives and so on. But what you do on that counter side is you lose the physical medium. You lose the fun and the romance and the wonder of owning that product. And because you then can stream, instead of having these singles manufactured, printed, and then released in certain amounts, which then is what bands would do, they just put it all up. Because they would do the studies saying that, hey, this music is people consume it in a different way. Anyway, I rambled off the point. The point I was trying to say was, I think that we should go back to single. So I'm not saying that it should own lots of vinyl singles, by no means, or CD singles. You can still stream the single. I think that's fine if that's the way that the world is consuming music, and let's be honest, it is then putting less into landfill eventually and less chemical used, and it is greener. But they've got to stage it. I mean, here's a good example. The new Maiden album came out, and I love that. We talked about it a lot. And the singles came from it. Now, what was amazing about that for me, what I felt really took me back in time, was that the first single came out, The Writing on the Wall, and in my music community, there was lots of negativity. And it was almost like, well, let's try, and it had a great talking point. And so I could sit down and talk to my friends, say, look, don't panic, guys. Like, this is one single. This isn't the whole album. Then, another single will come, possibly the album will come, and then it will change your mind. But I think what it showed me was that younger members and friends of mine were so worried because they just assumed that this is what we were going to get. They were not of a generation where, you had to, that risk was taken when they released the single. Was it the right single off the album? Again, that's another podcast. I don't think it was. I think the second single was a much stronger single. I would have gone with that first. But hey, it's not my product. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which way the singles come out. The album is bloody amazing. So you just live with what you get there, really. Anyway, I rambled a bit here. I'm going to go and get a drink. And on the other side, we'll come back. We might finish off this conversation about singles and collection. And I might do some do's and don'ts on what to collect, because people are getting back into vinyl. And I've been a lifelong vinyl collector. So I think we might have a chat about that. We'll see you soon. Hi guys, look, we're still in lockdown. And we still want some food. And we want some beer. And we want to get it to our house. We live locally to the Belconnen area, within 6 kilometres of the basement, with a new logo. Check it out, guys. Amazing. Anyway, what do we do? How do we do it? Well, you can still do it. If you go to bit, that's bit.ly/chompys, CHOMPYS, that's bit.ly/chompys, you can get all of their fantastic menu, from vegetarian to vegan to meat to fish, whatever you want, and some beers. And you're keeping a local business alive, and you're keeping the basement alive. So when we come out of lockdown, guys, we can get ourselves some good rockin' music. So that's Chompys. That's bit.ly/chompys. That's bit.ly/chompys. Come on, go grab some. I'm starving. Welcome back to part 2, guys. This one is, as I said before, with break. It's going to be more about the romance of singles and record collecting in general. There are people out there who do ask me all the time, hey, what do I do? Do I buy secondhand? Do I buy reprints? Where do I get them from? What should I spend? What should I play them on? And I think the advice that I'd have for you guys, honestly, if you're going to take anything from this, and I hope you do, is that the world of music consumption is a wonderful and varied thing. If you choose to buy all your stuff on CD, be my guest. Brilliant. If you choose to buy it, stream it, and own it only ephemerally, be my guest. I am, like a lot of us, vinyl lover. I'm unashamedly a geek in that respect. I have a very large collection, and I love buying them. Now, do I always play all of them? No. Some of them I buy just to own them. But anyway, I think I've spoken that before. So, do's and don'ts on buying records. Firstly, buy what you could afford. Secondly, know what the value of something is. I think what's happened with knocked the table. With some of these hipsters, don't get me wrong, brilliant. They've reinvigorated the format. To be honest, it was always the most superior format. It's warmer, it's more enjoyable, it's more enjoyable to own. Yes, it can jump, but if you look after it, it won't. Where CDs, as my lovely wife will say, the great con of CDs, they jump, they skip, they don't work, they just, the sound is thin, it's too clinical. it's too much pushed on it. You have too much information. The ceiling of the ceiling of volume is too high, so it's just too much. Anyway, and I think that's ruined a lot of bands in the late 90s to early 2000s. I reckon, I really do. But yeah, so know the value. So a good little tool is Discogs. Use Discogs. So if you're in a store and you see like an Iron Maiden album, you think, oh, okay, is that a reissue? Is it a first print? Because you can never tell these days, because they do almost mimic the original, everything originally to the original on the remake, on the reissues. The difference is on the reissue it should tell you the year it was printed, and it should, most reissues, if it's of a modern album, will have a barcode. Early albums didn't have barcode systems, so that's another way of looking at it. But Discogs is good because you put into any information into the Discogs into the search. So the barcode, the record label code, the name of the song, band or artist, and it will pick it up and it will give you an idea of the average cost across the globe of what these records go for. So don't be sort of fooled because it's a vinyl and people think it must be valuable. Not always the case. Some of these pieces, they manufactured 5, 6, 10, 20 runs of them in great numbers. It's more about where they're printed and run out codes on the little run out in the middle of the disc, label variations, track listings, and things like that, which will make the value of a record. So look at that. I mean, some people don't buy for value; they're just buying because they want to have a Neil Diamond album, or they want to have Neil Sedaka, or they want to have Judas Priest, or they want to, whatever you call it, you choose them to find. But they want to play it in that original format to feel like it's warm and friendly, and they want to read the cover and so on. So to those people, it doesn't matter, mate, honestly. But those that are buying to, and value is in the eye of the beholder. If you wish to spend $50 on an album that's probably only worth 10 or 15, but that's your choice. Anyway, those like me that do collect on several levels, I collect A, to own the record, B, I like the variants, and C, I do like a little bit of cachet. Is this a rare record? Is it worth a bit more? A prime example was I picked up when I was 14 a Marillion bootleg. It's a rather distasteful cover. It has it's an airbrush cover with a guy in denim with a big Bowie knife at the throat of a young girl who's crying. It's not a Marillion cover, but the guy in the market store was selling them, and I thought I really like this band, so I'm going to buy it. And it's multicolored vinyl, white label, and it's printed number 2 of 100. And it doesn't matter really, because they would have printed 100 stickers and stuck it on, doesn't matter. It could have been not 100 once they came off the printer. It's still number 2. But the thing is, in my evaluation, it's priceless because it means a lot to me, and I would be really gutted if I didn't have it anymore. But if I wanted to replace it, because there was only 100 printed 35 years ago, or even close to 35 years ago, and the covers were destroyed because it was distasteful. It's valued at around about £500 to £600, which is about $1,200. It's a lot of money for a record, And people said, "Oh, you should sell it," but I'd be lost without it. Knowing it's there, it means a lot to me. Not the value, the when I bought it, why I bought it, and what's on it actually. Even though now it's on CD. Anyway, so it is about it's about the way you buy records. Now, where you buy them's up to you. I'd like to go keep my record buying local. If I can't get it here or get it overseas, I usually go on Amazon or somewhere like that. Tend not to go to eBay too much because I don't trust the sellers. But I'd go to Landspeed in Canberra, here in Garema Place. They do a great record store day. If you don't know what that is, Google it. It's the annual record store event where special issues are released. We queue up for hours in advance pre-COVID. You get in, you got it first in, best dressed, and then you get to the second-hand record section. And you go through that, and honestly, I'll spend $500-$600 on that day there. It's my Christmas. It's my Easter rolled into one. Anyway, so try and buy it locally, because the local record stores will know the value and will not rip you off. If you can't, you can now get vinyl in JB Hi-Fi, and you can get it in. You can get it, as said, online. Now, old prints to new prints, reissues and original prints. Now, the beauty of reissues is they're now manufactured mostly on 180 gram vinyl. 180 gram vinyl is thicker. So, obviously, when you put it on the record deck, there's less chance of warping. It's got more dense material, so for the resonance of the sound through the needle is better. And it's less chance of getting damaged. Old records back, if you've got a relative who's got one, even if you've got one, grab a record from the 80s, slip it out its cover, and you can wobble it like a wobble board. Wobble, 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 wobble. It's a light material because they were mass producing far greater numbers, and they were trying to save $1 here and there. Same with cardstock. Modern cardstock on new record covers, the printing, the cardstock is superior because they make it in smaller, bespoke numbers. They're also charging a lot more money for them. So therefore, you want your value. These days as well, you'll find most variants are coloured vinyls. I think, it used to be a bit of a joke. I'd only get the black. I mean, classic Jack Burns of the Stiff Little Fingers, the Irish punk band, brilliant, please check them out, famously said he'd never do picture discs or coloured vinyl. That was a punk thing, coloured vinyl. And I've got so many punk singles, pink, green vinyl, orange vinyl, red vinyl. It was sort of that way to draw the kids in. He wouldn't do it because he thought it was just a gimmick. It is a gimmick, but man, I love that gimmick. I love slipping out the record from the cover and it's blood splatter red or it's gold flecked and clear. It's just, it's fun. You get more ephemera records now, so you get like posters and stickers, and they're trying to draw them, and you're back in, and also trying to create that, get the older market back to it. So the difference, if I was walked into a store and I looked at the shelf and they had a first edition print of, let's say, Nevermind the Bollocks or Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast, and they had reissues. The reissues are mint, unplayed, and the other two were used. I'm going to go for the used one. I actually really like the hiss, the pop, and the crackle when I put my record on. If I want really clean, pristine audiophile music, I will stream it, I will CD it. I think the vinyl, I don't want it to ruin the music, the noise, too much background noise, but it's there, it's part of the romance. It brings me back to a time, like smells. Takes you back to a better place. So that's what I would say. So if you are new to vinyl, buy the reissue. You'll get more fun out of it because you're going from you're transitioning from your CD to your record. If you want to feel a completist, have both. I know I do. Anyway, and I'm running out of room for that sort of stuff. Picture discs is another one. People say, there's lots of pictures. Should I buy a picture disc? Is the sound better? Is it worse? Now, in the old days, audiophiles would say, don't buy a picture disc. The sound isn't any good. Well, that's rubbish. The sound is equally as good. The vinyl extrusion that they're using is the same. It just doesn't have a tint in it. Okay, it's just clear. So it's no different. In fact, they're just more fun to own. I've got so many picture discs. I really enjoy them. The only downside of picture discs, often they just come in a plastic clear cover, and they don't give them a cover that you can put in to look after it. So once you've got the record home, Tony, they say to me, what do I do? How do I look after it? Sorry, my computer's gone into... Can you hear me typing? Yeah, it went into sleep mode. So how do I look after it? Well, firstly, it does matter what you play your record on, because cheap records have more tracking force with cheap needles, and they're going to damage your record, your precious record. And let's be honest, the average record of a price of a record these days, if you're buying a reissues, are between $50 to $100. You can get them for $30 odd if it's mass-produced bands like Bridge Over Troubled Water or something from Simon Garfunkel. You're going to pick it up for $25. But the stuff you're buying now from new bands, usually around the $50 to $100. So it's an investment. So you want a deck that's, don't get a flea market deck, please, people. Go out and get yourself a basic Audio Technica deck, or something. Just go to somewhere you can trust where they'll get you something. A good deck is around about $400 to $500. You can get one less, about $2 to $3, and you'll still be fine. You still need a preamp because these don't have an amp in them, and you do need speakers. So it is an investment, but once you've made the investment, you're then investing on what you're playing it on. So yes, you do want to make sure that your needle in your record is good. Secondly, a basic cleaning kit, an anti-static cloth, fine. Try not to finger the vinyl, so when you're pulling out, don't touch the vinyl if you can. Don't leave it on your deck. If you've got a direct drive deck, which means the motor is directly underneath the platter, and because you get two types, you get direct drive. I'm sorry if this is boring you audio nerds, but this is important to me. Direct drive or belt drive. With direct drive, you get less wow and flutter, which is the speed of slowing down and speeding up. You won't hear it unless you listen to it really carefully, but you can come. It happens more in cassettes. But wow and flutter. That's that woo, woo, woo noise, yeah, or the slowing down, speeding up. But the trouble with that is people leave the records on the record deck. We used to do it all the time. And you leave the power on, and there's a motor underneath it. It warps the record. Okay, it warps the record. So if you've got it, belt drive, still don't do it. Take the record off. Put it back in its paper sleeve once you've listened to it. And what I try to do is, when you've got the opening to the paper sleeve, put that so the paper sleeve opening is not facing out to the cardboard sleeve, so dust doesn't get in. I also like to keep my records in PVC clear covers. Now, some people say, no, you shouldn't do it. I've got some records now, after being there for 30 years, have actually stuck to the covers. Now, that's because they were cheap PVC covers with certain chemicals in that would probably we didn't think about too much. Now, this audiophile stuff, it won't happen. Get those. You buy a packet of 25 for $25. It's well worth doing. Secondly, stacking them. Please don't stack them flat. They will warp. Put them upright where you can. If you haven't stacked against the wall, don't stack them so they're sort of sloped against the wall, because the front ones will warp, the back ones won't. Now, and also if you can keep them in a place that's not directly sunlight. Now, it sounds like it's a lot of work, guys. CDs, I can just chuck them anywhere. Oh, you know what I mean? I'll leave them in the car, they're fine. Yes, but these, it's not an ephemeral material. So, this is an artisan material almost now. So you must make sure you look after them. I said you're investing in them. You can even put I do in covers on the walls. So that you've got like a bit of people say it's a bit wanky. I quite like it in my music room. Look, with some of my favourite artwork of albums on the covers. I take the records out, put them in spare covers and put them in the shelf. And I change them quite regularly when I feel like it. Hunt around. When we can get out in the non-COVID world, guys, I'd get out there and really just enjoy the fossicking around record shops. You can find some absolute doozies. I picked up year before last, one of my favourite finds was a Czechoslovakian heavy metal band I'd read about. And sorry, the name has left me right now, but I'd been let out and I was, oh my God, I've always wanted to hear this album. And there it was for $10. Wow. Thank you very much. Sharp and take my money. In great condition as well. Each city, wherever you live, will have a record store, a second-hand record store. I'm rambling. I don't want to keep going on too much about it, but yes, I would go out there and play. That's what you need to do. So looking after your records is important. Record player choice is important, and where you position it in your house is important. Okay, somewhere where you can sit down and relax and enjoy it. because it is a thing you have to enjoy. I'm sorry, youngsters, listen to this. You've got to get up and turn it over when side A is finished, and that, you know, and putting the art of putting the needle down where you want it. We were so good at it years ago. Now you just, you know, I'm getting back into tapes now. I'm trying to find a good tape recorder. I don't actually have one, a tape player. I've got hundreds of tapes, but my tape player is just, so anyone out there who's got one, who knows where to get one, you know where to contact me. That's heavymetaltones@gmail.com. That's heavymetaltones@gmail.com, which is my email. I'm happy to pay a good price for it. I don't want to pay too much, but I'm looking for an older, not a modern one. I want an older tape deck, so a Pioneer or a Technics or Bang & Olufsen, something like that. Anyway, that's the end of this side where I was just rambling about record collecting and how to do it. When I come up back off the other side, I'm just going to quickly chat, finish off a little bit about what's going to come up, and we'll chat about what happened. We'll chat about next week. Okay. See you on the other side. Hi guys, look, we're still in lockdown, and we still want some food, and we want some beer, and we want to get it to our house. We live locally to the Belconnen area, within 6 kilometres of the basement, with a new logo. Check it out, guys, amazing. Anyway, what do we do? How do we do it? Well, you can still do it. If you go to bit, that's bit.ly/chompys, CHOMPYS, that's bit.ly/chompys. You can get all of their fantastic menu, from vegetarian to vegan to meat to fish, whatever you want, and some beers, and you're keeping a local business alive, and you're keeping the basement alive. So when we come out of lockdown, guys, we can get ourselves some good rockin' music. So that's Chompys. That's bit.ly/chompys. That's bit.ly/chompys. Come on, go grab some. I'm starving. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for listening all this way through on my ramble this week about the romance of record collecting, how to collect, what to collect, and where to get it from. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So what we're going to talk about now is just a sort of a rundown of what we're going to talk about next week. I thought next week we would have a chat about the black metal movement, the darker side of metal, I think we're going to call it. I love the darker side of metal. I have always loved the darker side of it. I find it fascinating, interesting, beautiful in a stark and horrible way, and just I love its bleakness. So look, before I record on a Sunday and a Monday. Now, if anybody you want to reach out and ask me any questions about the black metal music, or give me any, want me to talk about anything particular in that subgenre, do so. Get to me at heavymetaltones.com.au. That's heavymetaltones. No, I apologise. That's not the email address. It's heavymetaltones@gmail.com. That's heavymetaltones@gmail.com. Or you can get to me on my Facebook page at Nwobham. That's NWOBHM and All Things Metal. That's Nwobham and All Things Metal. And leave me some information there. Otherwise, I look forward to hearing from you. If not, we'll chat about the darker side of metal next week. See you next week, guys. And keep safe.
Tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
After 3 years, the world of the award-winning horror podcast, The Magnus Archives, is back with The Magnus Protocol. Immerse yourself in a brand new terror and uncover the secrets behind the mysterious work of the Office of Incident Assessment and Response, and try to find out what really happened to the Magnus Institute. Though remember that too many questions can come at a cost. The Magnus Protocol premieres January 18th, wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.